Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to replace the screen on this 13-inch MacBook Pro mid-2017 model A1706. So we're going to need a Pentalobe 1.2 or P5 screwdriver. We'll also need a Pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screwdriver. We'll also use a T5 or Torx 5, a T3 or Torx 3. We might need a T4 or Torx 4, so we'll have that just in case. And then we'll also need a T8 or Torx 8. And then other tools you'll need, it'll be helpful to use a suction cup, though you don't really need one. You can also use tape. And I believe that's all we're going to need for this repair. All right, so first thing we're going to do is use the P5 or Pentalobe 5 screwdriver. And then we're going to remove all the screws from the bottom. So there's two back here on the corners where the hinge are. You want to keep all the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. The way I do that is I put them flat side down like this. In the pattern, I remove them. All right, this helps me put back the same screw exactly where I got it, and you don't mix up anything. All right, that's very important. If you put the wrong screws in the wrong spot, you can damage your computer. So try and keep track of them and do it however works for you, but that's the best way I find. And then there's 4 down here, so we're going to remove those. If this video helps you out, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue doing this for a living. All right? So anyways, these are customer computers, so keep that in mind. I don't own them. All right? So I'm not going to have this computer by the time you see this video. All right? Anyways, we're going to go ahead and pop this part up. So you see the 4 screws. It helps to use a suction cup, though on this model you can even use the air vent here, or you can sometimes use the screw hole. If you want, you can also use tape. Just put 2 pieces of tape going like this where they meet up in the middle, and you can use that as a pull tab. All right, so anyways, we're going to use the suction cup. So we're going to pull this up just to create a slight gap. So if you look here, we're going to pull that, and you can see now there's a gap. Okay, using that gap, we're going to get our fingernails or our pry tool in there. Okay, so we're going to go around the side, all right, just like this. And I like to use my fingers because what I can do while I have my fingers in the gap here, I can also use my thumb to push down on the other half and pull up with my fingernails. And then we'll move our way, work our way down here, and then just pull, and you'll see it pops the clip out. All right, we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Go all the way around here. Same thing. Go ahead and pop that up. All right. There are also clips in the center, but usually once you pop both the side clips out, those will pop out automatically. All right. So next thing we're going to do is pull this cover down. So I get my fingers in here, and then I grab with my palm, so that way it's holding on to the case like this. And the nice thing with using your fingernails is you're not going to get your finger scraped up from this. So you want to be careful. Make sure that your fingernails are going against this and not the edge of your fingers, because otherwise you can cut your fingers doing this. All right, so we're going to grab this and pull it down, and then we're also going to push on this part down here, not on the back of the screen, but down here. Okay, and I wrap my fingers over the top here so that the MacBook doesn't fall over while I'm doing this. Right, so we're going to pull down. All right, it's going to slowly form a gap. It might take a lot of force. If you can't get it out on the first try on this, you can go ahead and move to the other side. Okay, same thing. We're going to grab this. Same thing, pushing this down, and then do the same, pulling it, and there we go. All right, once you've done that, the other side should come out a lot easier now that it's kind of more swung over this way. So then you're going to just swing it the other way and pull this back. You want to be careful not to drag this over the computer because you don't want to short anything out. But here you go. This is what the bottom cover looks like. These are the clips that were holding it into place, or the sliding mechanism. And then these are the clips here. And then there's these 2 plastic clips that are in the center. All right, so it's a bit dusty, as you can see. So I'm going to clean that up, and then we'll continue with the repair. So here you can see, right, it's all dusty. Of course, you want to also make sure that your MacBook is off. When it's closed, it's already going to be like in sleep mode. But you do want to make sure the Mac is off. The way you can tell is if you push on the trackpad, you'll feel it clicking. So their MacBook's actually on. You can actually see the crack lines right there. Okay. So we're going to have to force shut this off. In some cases, you can use an external monitor and shut it down properly, but usually Apple, when it detects something wrong with the screen, it actually disables the external monitor. All right, so I don't feel the trackpad clicking anymore, so we know it's off. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to brush this off with a toothbrush to loosen the dust, and then I'll use an electric air blower to blow all the dust out. You don't want to use the cans because they can blow really cold air, which can cause condensation to build up, and then you could end up with liquid damage on your computer. So I prefer to use something like this if you don't want to use an electric one or an air compressor. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. If you use the can, you can, but just do it in short bursts. You don't want to hold the thing down, so just go like just like that. All right, you don't want to like hold the thing too long, and you don't want to do it too many times, because as the gas expands inside the can, it gets colder and colder, and then it's going to end up causing condensation to form. All right, anyways, I'll be back. Gonna clean that. All right, so I'm back. We cleaned this up. You can see it's a lot cleaner inside. All right, it still has some stuff that doesn't really wipe off, but there we go. If you want, on the bottom cover, you can actually even use water. Not inside here, but on the bottom of the cover, because there's no electronics in it. But I don't want to mess around with that, because then I have to worry about drying it completely before putting it back. All right. Anyways, next thing we're going to do, we're going to disconnect the battery. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. All right. So the battery connectors are over here. We're going to peel up this plastic piece here. Okay, just get underneath and slowly peel this up. Okay, just like this. Okay. You want to be careful while peeling this up, because sometimes there's a layer that will peel up underneath this, and we'll try and pull this cable out. All right, so here we go. This is what it looks like. Make sure there's no tape covering the screws. We'll set this aside. There's a little crumb stuck on there. Get that out. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and remove this. So what you do is you just get underneath the thin plastic film here. Okay, hopefully you can see what I'm lifting right here, this plastic film. I'm going to pull this back. While holding that back, we're going to flip this latch up. All right, once you've unclicked that, just use your fingernail. If you don't have fingernails, you might want to let it grow. You can also use like a plastic tool, but you want to be very gentle. I've heard a lot of people rip this little plastic latch off, and then you're going to have issues later. So be very careful with that. All right, so next thing, we're going to go ahead and get underneath this. Okay, this one has this weird zigzag in it, so you want to try and get underneath, and then make sure that you're grabbing as close to the connector as possible. If you try and pull from here, you can actually tear the connector there. So try and grab onto where it's coming straight out of that, and then you can kind of grab this and wiggle it, and it'll pull out just like this. All right, there we go. Once we got that disconnected, we're going to peel this up. It has an adhesive holding it down. So same thing, you want to get as close as you can to the flat part of this cable coming out here, and then slowly, carefully peel this up. Okay, you want to try and pull it this way while you're lifting it, because you don't want to crease it and fold it. All right, so there we go. Now we got that out of the way, we're going to switch over to a T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. Okay, and then we're going to remove that screw. This is the screw for the battery. Oops, this one. Okay, so we're going to remove that screw. And this will just disconnect the battery from the computer. All right, so right now the battery's still connected, as you can see, because that metal tab is still down. So what you want to do is bend this up slightly. All right, and now it's no longer keeping contact with those gold tabs underneath. Okay, once you've done that, let's go ahead and zoom back out. Oops, too much. Okay. Once you've done that, open up the MacBook, and then press and hold the power button for about 15 seconds. It's right here. Just press and hold that for about 15 seconds. This will drain any residual power and make it a lot safer to work on. This is very important when working on replacing the screen, because sometimes if you don't do it right, you can actually cause an arc for electricity, and it can actually short out or fry the backlight circuit, and sometimes that will require motherboard, sometimes repair, and sometimes that will require a replacement screen. All right, anyways, once we've done that, we're gonna go ahead and get to work on removing all these components holding the screen in place. Okay, let's go ahead and zoom in. Just so I don't have to keep switching around screwdrivers a lot, I'm gonna use the T5. Actually, let me do it the right way this time, so that way people don't have to keep, don't have to worry about holding stuff down as much. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna switch to a T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver. And I'm also going to use the T4 just to make sure that none of these can use the T4 screwdriver, because sometimes they'll use a T4, and then if you use the T3 you can actually end up stripping the screws. It looks like these are all T3 screws, so I don't know. This one actually, the T4 fits in it really well, so that's a little odd. Okay, so okay, no, never mind. It was just a fluke. It just seemed like it was fitting well. Okay, so we are going to use the T3. It looks like we don't need the T4. So first thing we're going to do is remove the 2 screws holding this plastic piece in place. Okay, the lighting is probably making it really difficult to see. But let's see if I can get a better close-up view of this. Okay, that's probably better. So we're going to remove both these screws. So I already removed one. We'll remove the second one here. Okay. Once you got those 2 screws out, we're going to lift this plastic piece up slightly and then pull it back, and there we go. We're going to set that aside. Okay, next we're going to move our way over to here. We got these 2 little brackets. Actually, you want to check your replacement screen. Some of them will already have this attached. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the replacement screen, and let's go ahead and see if they already have that piece on there. So replacement screen came in this box. I'm going to zoom out a bit here. Okay, so it came in this box. Let's go ahead and open it up. I'm just going to cut this thing open. And if you're wondering why I'm opening this on camera, is because sometimes sellers will try and say that I might have done something to it. So just to be safe, I'm going to open it on camera. Okay, just so that I can show them that it's not something I did to it. All right, so we're gonna open this up. Oh, okay, so they wrap it up with all of these rubber bands and stuff. Okay, so we're gonna lift this out. Oh, this is gonna be difficult. I'm gonna end up dropping the little plastic things onto the computer. So, sorry, it's going slightly out of view of the camera, but we'll set that box aside. Okay, it came with this, and they actually tell you here what to do. Yeah, I don't need that. All right, let's take these rubber bands off. Oops, zoom out a bit more. Okay, so we'll take the rubber bands off. There's 4 rubber bands holding this in place. Okay, throw those away. Okay, then we got that. There's a foam layer and a cardboard. So this is actually very nicely packed. I'm gonna flip this over. Okay, oh, they have foam inside of here, so that's nice, so it doesn't move around. And then we're gonna have to peel this thing out, okay? Oh, there's also a piece of tape here, so let's go ahead and remove that. Peel that up. Okay. Oh, that's stretching out this bag. All right, let's see if we can cleanly peel this out or if it's just gonna stretch it up too. So let's peel this off. Okay. Oh, the adhesive got stuck to the bottom layer. Okay, there we go. Now let's go ahead and pull this out. You want to be careful with all this stuff. You don't want to get static to damage this, okay? So we got the foam. We're going to set that aside. Actually, I have my leg resting against my metal desk to help pull some of the static charge away. All right, so here you can see LCD passed, camera passed, so they tested this and they covered the back. All right, so we're going to take this piece off here. All right, let's go ahead and peel this up. Carefully, slowly. All right, when you get to this part, you want to actually hold this board down, and then we're going to slowly, carefully peel this out. Okay, and peel that. Okay, so then we can go ahead and take this pink thing out, and here we go. So this is the screen. Again, we are going to go ahead and finish removing the screen first. For now, we'll set this aside. As you can see, they don't have those little metal things there. So we are going to have to remove that from this one. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom back in. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and remove these screws. Again, we're using the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver. Okay, 2 screws holding this in place. Hold that down so it doesn't spin around. Just like that. Grab this metal piece off and set that aside. All right. Oh, let's go ahead and remove these 2 as well while we're at it. Okay. These are much longer screws than the rest. Again, you want to be careful. Make sure to keep them all in order. You don't want to mix these screws up, right? Or any of the screws up for that matter. My camera's having issues thinking that it's shaking around and then it's trying to stop the shaking. All right, now we're going to remove these screws here. Okay, these 2 screws are holding the LCD LVDS connector in place. All right, so we'll remove that as well. Okay, got those 2 screws out. Next, we're going to remove this metal plate. Okay, set that aside. Then we're going to remove the 2 screws holding this metal plate in place. Uh-oh, I think these are T4 screws. Okay, so we're going to switch over to the T4 screwdriver. And yep, these are T4 screws. Okay, so you want to be careful with that. If you keep trying, you can actually destroy the screw and then you won't be able to put it back. So be very careful with that, where they switch from T4 to T3. And this seems to be a T3 screw, so I don't know why Apple decided to just make one of them a T4 screw. All right, let's go ahead and switch back to the T3 screwdriver and remove that last screw holding that bracket. Again, I don't know why Apple did that, but let's go ahead and set that aside. Okay, remove the metal plate there. All right, now we can go ahead and disconnect the LCD LVDS connector. Again, I just used my fingernail. You can use a plastic pry tool for this. Get underneath the corner and then just pop that up. You are going to want to pull this out of the way a little bit so that it doesn't stay over this board, because when we take it out, you don't want it to get caught on here. All right, let's go ahead and remove this screw here. Okay, this screw over here. All right, get the metal plate off as well. Then we're going to remove these 2 screws. Okay. Again, these ones are pretty long. There we go. This one. All right, got all those screws out there. Now the last 2 over here to remove this plastic cover again. Okay, now that we got those 2 screws, same thing like the other side, lift it up slightly and then pull it back. Oops. Come on. There we go. And set that aside. All right, next thing we're gonna do, let's go ahead and actually remove the wireless antennas here. So we're gonna switch over to the P2 or Pentalobe P2 or Pentalobe 0.8 screwdriver. These are basically the same type of screws, the screwdriver tip that we need to undo iPhone screws. All right, so let's go ahead and remove all of those. All right, make sure to go slow when undoing these screws. You don't want to end up stripping the top and then you're never going to be able to remove them. All right, so be careful, at least for the first turn when you undo these screws. Make sure you go slow and make sure it's actually undoing the screw and not just stripping the head of the screw out. Sorry, it's all shaking around like that. Okay, let's go ahead and continue removing all these screws. All right, last one here. Man, the camera's like really trying to undo jittering that doesn't exist. All right, then we're going to go to the other side and remove the wireless antenna screws from here as well. Okay. 6 screws on each side. All right. There we go. All right, we're done with the P2 screwdriver for now. We're going to now switch back to the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. And let's remove the screws from the board here. All right, so we got one right there. There's 4 screws holding this board down. Right, we got another one right here. All right, and then we got 2 more over here. Hopefully you guys can tell what I'm working on and it's not zoomed too close that that it's confusing. Okay, there we go. So we got those 4 out. You can see this board is now loose and wobbling around. Then we have to disconnect the wireless antennas here. All right, so let's undo this screw, also using the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. Undo that screw and get that out. So right now it's actually trapped underneath the wireless antenna, so we're going to pop that out. I like to use my fingernails and go underneath the tail and then just pop it up like this. All right, you can use like little tweezers or whatever works for you. And we'll get this screw out. Okay, we're going to get the other 2 antennas out just like this. Same thing, pop that up. And the last one, pop that up. All right, there we go. Let's zoom out a bit so you can see what I'm going to do next. We're going to remove the wireless antennas. Okay, the easiest way I found to do that is you can get underneath here where it has the little vent holes in the antenna. And then we're going to kind of work our way closer to the center. And as you kind of lift that up, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, and you kind of just wiggle this a bit and kind of lift. You want to be careful because you don't want to snap the antenna in half. But there we go, just like that. Wiggle it and then you feel it pop out of place. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and slide all these antenna wires back underneath. These antennas are a little bit difficult to put back into place. You will need like tweezers or a little needle or something or a toothpick to help with that. But let's go ahead and pull this out just like this. Okay, and here you go. This is what the wireless antennas look like. So if your Wi-Fi is not working right or getting bad signal, you will have to replace this. If the wireless doesn't work at all, then you can't really do anything. The wireless card is integrated into the motherboard. You'll have to replace the logic board. All right, and the way this wireless antenna holds into place, it has these little dimples that stick out. And then what happens is there's a slot, so when it slots into there, those dimples grab into it. All right, we're going to set the wireless antennas aside now. All right, we're almost done. So now we're going to switch over to the T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab that. And then what we're going to do, let's go ahead and zoom out a bit more, quite a bit more. Let's see, I'm going to have to adjust the camera a little bit. Let's see if I can rotate it this way. Okay, it's going to stay that way. Not really. Uh-oh, I'm going to drop my camera on the floor. Okay, so we're going to do that. We'll zoom out a bit more. Basically what we're going to do, we're going to open up the screen. All right, you're going to open it up all the way, and then you're going to rest the keyboard on the table, on your desk, your work surface, whatever you're doing, whatever you're working on it on. All right, and then we're going to undo the 6 screws holding the hinges into place. Again, these are using T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver. I'm also going to use some thread locker, red thread locker, to put these screws back so that they don't come loose. Okay, so we're going to get those 3. And then we're going to get the 3 on this side out as well. All right, so now that we've gotten all 6 of those screws out, we're going to let the screen fall down so that it's about 90 degrees angle with the computer, and then we can kind of wiggle and lift it up and out. And there we go. We got the old screen out. We're going to set that aside. We're going to get the new screen. You want to make sure the hinges are open all the way. If they're not, you can use the screwdriver to go in the screw mount hole, and you can use that to twist it. All right, just get the screw in there and then twist it. There we go. All right, now what we got to do is drop this into place. You want to hold this, these pieces up out of the way, so these two, right? So I'll use my hand to lift those up and out of the way, just like this. Come on, there we go. So then you hold all of these cables out of the way, and then we're gonna slowly drop this into place. Okay, you can actually let those go down, and then get the hinges lined up, get them into place. Might have to wiggle it around a little bit to get it lined up. There we go. All right, now you want to hold the screen open all the way so that you can put these screws in. All right, so we're gonna put this screw in and this screw in. All right, and then you don't want to over tighten them, just loosely fit it for now. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna slowly, carefully close the screen. All right, if it gets caught on anything, you want to stop. You don't want to try and force this closed, okay? So slowly, carefully, there we go. Now that you've got the screen closed, let's actually zoom in a bit here. Okay, what we're gonna do next, oops, too much, is we're gonna loosen these screws again. All right, just so it's no longer holding it tight. And then you can adjust to make sure the gaps here in between the screen and the casing are even. All right, and then you also want to make sure it's flush back here. Okay, you don't want it sticking out weird. Okay, so try and get that as lined up as possible, and then once you're satisfied, you can actually go ahead and tighten down the screws. Okay, so this looks good. And now tighten down the screw. Okay, and we're gonna do the same on this side. Okay, make sure that's all lined up here. All right, and then we can go ahead and tighten that down. So there's a very tiny gap in between on both sides. Okay, and we're just going to tighten those two so it doesn't move anywhere. You can also check the side edges, the front and everywhere, make sure it's all flush. All right, and now we're going to add some red thread locker to make sure the screws are staying in place, okay? So I'm going to get red thread locker, and we're going to get the remaining screws. All right, and you're just going to put a little bit of this on there. Okay, not even a full drop, just like that, a little bit. Okay, and get those screws in. There we go. All right, then we're gonna get the other one. Okay, once you get the two other screws in, you can take the one we put in first, take it back out, and then add some thread locker. Okay, make sure those screws don't come loose. Go and tighten that into place. Right, we're going to move over to the other side. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing. Add thread locker. Just like that. All right. And tighten that into place. Good. I'm going to remove this screw as well. And then we'll add the thread locker there. All right, and now we're done with the thread locker. So we'll set that aside. Put this last screw back in. Good. All right, we're done with the T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver. Let's go ahead and flip the MacBook back over. Next thing we're going to do, we're gonna make sure this piece ends up back on top. Okay, and then we need to get the wireless antennas back in. All right, so this is a little bit tricky, as I mentioned earlier. You can kind of straighten out these wires to make it a little bit easier. Okay, so when you move them, they actually somewhat stay in place. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and thread this through here underneath. Let me see if zooming in will help. Okay, I'm going to use some tweezers to help with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and thread these wires through down here. Okay, make sure that they go into the right place. Again, this part is a little bit tricky, right? As you see it come through down here, you're going to use the tweezers to help pull it back up. Again, you can use kind of like a needle just to get underneath to kind of lift it up, like just getting underneath like this, but it is a little challenging. So there we go, got that one up. You can see this wire's over here. It helps to kind of move this around in different directions to kind of guide this wire out. Right, we're going to grab that, pull that up, and the third wire is kind of stuck under there. It's a little bit tricky. There we go. Come on. It's getting stuck weird, so move that. There we go. Okay. Then lift that up as well. Make sure it's going on top. There we go. It helps to wiggle it around as mentioned. Just keep working it slowly. All right, you don't want to try and rush it and force it through. Okay, this part's also kind of getting stuck, so it sometimes helps to kind of curl this a little, and then after that you can kind of lift it, and as you can see it's going. And we got to lift this up as well. Again, you can do this with a needle, but the tweezers help a lot more. Okay, there we go. We got everything through. Okay, so next thing, we're gonna have to snap this back down into place. So the way I find that helps, let's go ahead and zoom out, is kind of line all of this up. You might have to lift it up a little from the sides and then try and get this all lined up, the screw mounts. And then you can go ahead and push in the middle. And then you want to check if you lift it, the center should be stuck down, then you know it's good. All right, there we go. Let's go ahead now, excuse me, and put back the P2 or pentalobe 0.8 screws. Okay, the way I found that works the best, let me zoom in on each side. Basically what you want to do is hold this into place, and then we'll do the end screw first over here. Okay, then we'll get the other end, hold this into place, and then put that screw. And now that will hold itself into place, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side. Okay. Pull that, hold that into place. I like to twist it backwards so you can feel it drop into the screw hole. All right, there we go. And then we'll do the other outside edge as well. Make sure to hold that into place while you do this. All right, go and tighten that down. All right, there we go. Now we can just go ahead and put back all those wireless antenna screws. Okay, want to go slow, take your time with this. You don't want to end up doing this wrong. Don't twist too hard. You don't want to strip the screws. All right, these things are super small and they can be stripped out really easily, so you want to be very careful. Okay, like that. And again, I like to twist them backwards to feel it like fall into place properly, so that way the screw isn't going in crooked or anything. Okay, there we go. The first several turns should feel smooth going in. It shouldn't be difficult, and that's also how you can know that it's going the right direction. All right, there we go. Almost done getting all the antenna screws back in. Okay, and the last screw. All right, there we go. We got all the wireless antenna screws back in. Next, we're gonna go ahead and put back the T5 or Torx 5 screws, okay? So let's go ahead and grab that. We're gonna put these in first. We're gonna loosely fit them to make sure that everything is lined up properly and not going all weird. Make sure these spring-loaded ones are on top. Sorry, you can't really see both sides at the same time. Let me zoom out a tiny bit here. Okay, there we go. All right, and also make sure this cable is on top. All right, so I'm holding this down. We're gonna get that screw loosely in place. All right, you don't wanna tighten it down right away. Same thing with this one. All right, again, loosely fit. Next one, same thing. Just loosely fit that, okay? All right, last one holding these four in place. Loosely fit that as well. Okay, it's still wobbly. We're gonna also put the wireless antenna screw in down here. Okay. If you want, you can kind of help guide this little bar to be more centered. All right, and then go ahead and tighten that into place. All right, now we're gonna put in the wireless antennas. This can be a little bit tricky, but just get it all lined up. The way you know it's lined up is if you try and move it around while it's in place, it stays there. It doesn't really move around. And then you can go ahead and push it down just like that. Okay, oh, made some like fingerprint there. Okay. All right, we're gonna do that with the other two. Hopefully you can actually see. Okay, make sure it's lined up and then go ahead and push that down. And the last antenna. These things are really fragile, so you want to be very careful not to accidentally damage them. So make sure 100% they're lined up before you press it down. There we go. Now we got all those antennas back into place. These ones should be lined up. If you want, you can go ahead and push this connector into place to make sure it goes in first. Okay. Sometimes you're going to have to push it this direction while you're getting it back into place. Okay, because it won't line up otherwise. All right, come on, go in. I thought it was already lined up. So this connector can be a little tricky to put back. It's hard for me to see. I'm gonna tilt it up like this so I can see a little bit better. Let me actually adjust it a little. Huh, is it slightly off to one side? Yeah, it is. Okay, so I have to move it slightly over to the right as well. And there we go. All right. Oops, sorry, did I go out of view? There we go. Okay, so now we see this connector is lined up, right? Okay, so we're still using the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. We're gonna now tighten those 4 screws into place. Okay. All right, now that it's not moving around, we can let go and tighten that down. All right, so we got those 4. We're gonna set that aside. We're gonna switch back to the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver. And let's go ahead and start getting these little pieces in. So this you have to rotate. Did I have to put this first? I hope not. Okay, there we go. I was worried that the spring wouldn't slide behind with that bar, or sorry, with the controller in place. All right, so we're gonna hold this into place just like this with the spring in there, and then we're gonna tighten this screw down. All right. You want to be careful not to spin the screw too fast again, because you don't want to end up stripping out the head of it. All right, and let's go ahead and get that one in. I'm not sure what those little spring-loaded cable things do, but you can actually see the spring through there. So if you did it right, you should be able to see it over there. Okay. Just in case you guys don't know what to look for. Okay, rotate this and get that in as well. It might have been easier to put this first before tightening these 5 T5 or Torx 5 screws in, but it seems like it worked okay. So yeah, normally I put these in first, but all right, let's go ahead and get this screw in. Come on, line up right. There we go. Get that screw in, tighten it down. Good. Get the other one. Same thing, and tighten that into place. Come on, line up and go. Is it not lined up? Oh yeah, I have to hold that in place. And I'm gonna loosen this one a little bit. I think it's not lining up right. There we go. Okay, hold that down and tighten that. And tighten this. All right, next thing we're gonna do, we can put these metal plate things back on as well. I don't know what this, oh, that's not dust. Okay, it's staying like that. So we're gonna get the screw. I find it helps to take the metal bracket. If you're wondering if you accidentally flip this upside down, the part where this metal folds over is closer to the middle, so it's actually thicker on this edge. All right, so what I do is I hold this here, get the screw in there. Oops, I messed that up. Okay, let me do that again. So get the screw onto the screwdriver, hold this metal plate sideways like that, get the screw in there, and then you can go ahead and use that to help guide the screw, just like that. And then we're gonna hold this down, swing this over, just like that. Get the other screw, put that in, get the screw lined up, and there we go. Then you can go ahead and tighten that down. And you can go ahead and tighten that down. Good. All right, we can actually put this back in first. All right, again, we're gonna use the same trick. I'm gonna hold this metal plate, get the screw, put it in there to help guide it. Okay, get that lined up. All right, loosely fit it. Get the second screw, line that up, loosely fit that, and get that lined up, and then we can go ahead and tighten that into place. All right, there we go. And then we'll tighten this one as well. Okay, there we go. All right, next we're gonna put this one back. We did need to use the T4 or Torx 4 screwdriver for the screw on the left. You do want to check yours because yours can be different. Don't just follow blindly. For some reason this screw, maybe it was machined wrong or something, but this one uses a T4. I don't know why. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and loosely fit that screw. All right, I'm gonna switch back to the T3 or Torx 3. Get that screw and get this into place. There we go, and tighten that down. Again, I think Apple does that to screw you up, so you want to be very careful. Switching back to the T4 or Torx 4 screwdriver. Tighten this. All right, we're done with the T4 or Torx 4 screwdriver, so we'll put that away. Switch back to the T3. Okay, make sure everything is good. Okay, we're gonna work our way over here and put that bar in. So we'll get that screw. Also, if you're wondering how my screws are all magnetized, you can get a strong magnet and magnetize your screws just by rubbing the magnet in one direction. All right, we're gonna get this screw, get it lined up, and then just loosely fit that. There we go. Get the second screw. Same thing. Line that up and tighten that down. There we go. And we're going to tighten this one down as well. There we go. Got all of that in. We're going to now put these plastic brackets back in. When you put it, you want to make sure to get it in an angle. All right. and get that to go underneath this metal piece here. I've seen some where people brought it and this plastic was on top, so you want to be careful, make sure that it goes underneath. All right, let's go ahead and get this back in. So I loosely fit that screw first. I'm going to put the second screw now, and then you can go ahead and tighten it into place. Venus, where are you going? All right, and we're going to get this plastic and put this into place. Okay, same thing, make sure it goes underneath. Okay, I'm going to loosely fit that. Second screw, we're almost done. All right, last screw here. Tighten that into place. Okay, tighten that into place. Good, we're done with the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver. All that's left is the battery screw here using the T5 or Torx 5. All right, we're gonna get that screw in. If you want, you can actually push this down to see if it's lined up right. It's actually not lined up as much as it should be. I'm gonna see if I can move this control board a little. So this is a T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver, and I'm gonna pull it over slightly to this direction, because these gold pins weren't centered. All right, so I'm gonna now tighten this down. I've seen some where it stops connecting to the battery because of that. So if you can, try and make sure it's aligned. All right, now we're gonna put this down. It's still not 100% aligned, but that's as much as we can help it. So let's go ahead now and tighten this screw in. All right, there we go. Next, we're going to put this cable back into place. Make sure that latch is still up from before. I'm going to pull this plastic tab out of the way so we can actually see the connector. Right? All right, just like this. Ooh, make sure it's not stuck down to the screw here so you can move it around. And then we're just going to try and line this up. I'm going to turn this to make it a little bit easier for me to work on. Okay. Just like this, get that cable lined up. Okay, once you get it lined up, you should be able to just pull it in. Okay, oops, I knocked it back out. Come on, go back in. There we go. All right, so here you can see it's in now. Only a slight bit of the gold pins are sticking out, and then just slide your finger over the top. All right, just like that, and then you can put this back down. All right, so now we got the battery reconnected. We're gonna put this plastic piece back on top. I like to go like this so I can line this up with the screw here, and then we're just gonna flip it back over, okay? And then make sure that this goes flush with this raised area here. That's how you know it's lined up, and then you can push that down. All right, let's go ahead and zoom back out. For testing, we're not going to reconnect the entire thing. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna take the cover like this, line it up, and we're just gonna push these two clips in first. So let's go ahead and test it real quick. Now we're gonna open up the screen. Most of the time you can't turn it on right away. I do feel the trackpad clicking, so it's probably already turning on, but usually you have to plug the MacBook in. It might just show a low battery if it is turning on. But right now the screen's just staying black. Uh-oh. So this replacement screen actually has some issues. So it looks like I'm gonna have to get, I'm gonna have to get another replacement. It's better than the one that they had in there, but it's still bad. So I'm gonna have to get it replaced again, apparently. Let's try actually doing a PRAM and SMC reset. So SMC reset, Control Option Shift on the left side, and then the power button. All right, and then we're gonna do a PRAM reset. So power it on, and then Command Option PNR. All right, just keep holding it until you hear the chime. It should chime twice, but they had their sound muted the first time, so most likely it will chime after this. All right, there we go. If you want, you can keep holding it until you hear the chime a second time, but Oh, I guess it just started anyways. So it looks like I'm going to have to get another replacement screen. We're going to shut this down. I'm going to show you how to basically put the bottom cover back on. Maybe the customer will want to use it like this temporarily. But I am going to have to get another screen, it looks like. Alright, so that sucks. I'm going to have to do this repair a second time. Let's go ahead and pop this cover back off. Since I didn't clip it in all the way, I can actually lift it from the back here instead of from the front, and using the suction cup I can go from here. Alright, so to get this cover back on, we're basically going to slide this up. So get these sides lined up. Okay, once you get it lined up, we're going to hold this down and then slide it upwards. Go over to this side, same thing, hold this down, slide it upwards. We're going to go back over to this side, make sure it's all in place. All right, and then once you make sure the gaps are nice and even, then you can go ahead and push this down all the way around. Then we're going to use we're going to switch back over to the Pentalobe 1.2 or P5 screwdriver and put these screws back in. Alright, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Hopefully you don't end up with a damaged screen like I did. Anyways, hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it did, again, please make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Sucky thing about this is now I'm going to need to get another replacement screen. Hopefully they have another one for the same price. Otherwise, I'm going to have to kind of shop around and see what I can find. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, let's drop this. Bye.